Y'all, Unicorn Way is one of the most iconic streets in all of Wizard101. For a lot of people, this street is their first taste of Wizard101. It's the first thing they're exposed to when they start playing the game for the first time. And today, we need to talk about a weird change that's being made to Unicorn Way as a part of Summer Update 2025. Now, this to me was surprisingly controversial. I saw people commenting on this on Twitter, Reddit. They were like, yo, what is going on? But for the first time ever, Wiz has added a stat modifier to an entire street. And they've done this stat modifier to Unicorn Way. So what stat is modified? Basically, now in Unicorn Way, no matter what level you are, no matter who you are, if you cast a spell in this street, you will have plus 100% accuracy no matter what. Basically, it is now impossible to fizzle in Unicorn Way. A nerf to the first street in Wizard101 in the year 2025. Now, I find the entire topic of fizzling and accuracy super interesting because this is something that doesn't just stop at low level being annoying. Fizzling is something that to this day, even at max level, especially when you look at things like PvP, it is still a factor. Now, I think there's a very good reason why they decided to do this, especially given that Unicorn Way has become somewhat a tutorial street, right? If y'all remember, about 5 years ago, they did a whole revamp of the first time user experience. And while yes, there's the original tutorial in, like, I want to say Golem Tower, where you face off against Mouser's minions, right? They explain how spells and pips kind of work a little bit, but they don't really explain that much. I think they basically attached that tutorial to Unicorn Way to show how quests work, how walking around works, how talking to NPCs work. As a part of that revamp, though, they also changed the starter wand. Instead of giving wand hits, now the main wand that you start off with as a first-time player only gives you item cards of other spells. And what do all of these have in common compared to wand hits? You can fizzle literally all of these. I'm gonna assume that there's some metric that they had where they probably saw that a lot of people fizzled and then just quit as a result of it. I think it's a combination of one, fizzles are just annoying. Two, you might literally die because you fizzled and that's not fun. And three, you might not even understand what a fizzle is because the accuracy stat, I don't think it's really explained to you that well, especially not as early as Unicorn Way. So the net outcome of this whole, you know, accuracy modifier to Unicorn Way anyways, probably a little bit of a higher player retention, probably lower player frustration overall. Maybe this is their way of like actually figuring out a way to explain accuracy a little bit later down the road without confusing the player. And a lot of people were commenting on Reddit, on other places, that if you're a speedrunner, this is actually something that helps you a lot. There's less RNG when you do things like speedruns. This affects many parts of the game, even outside of the first time user experience. Now, here is what I think is the actual root of the issue that I wish they would really do something about: accuracy as a stat as a whole across the game. Right, clearly fizzling is so annoying even at early levels that people are quitting off of it. Imagine the fact that accuracy is still very unreliable, especially for some schools, even at max level. Let's take my fire for example, right? This is something that is really annoying when it happens in PvP. It's one of the reasons I've lost many games in the past. I'm running fire and storm on the fire right now. So basically, as a start, I'm gonna want to get fire accuracy up to 30, up to 35 storm accuracy. This is how much accuracy we need to never fizzle any spell, regardless of whether it's a lore spell, a regular spell. So I'm more or less there. You know, I got like 29 accuracy to fire. I actually got the 35 to storm. Now, what I find crazy is, let's say that I didn't use any spells requiring accuracy outside of fire and storm. Even then, I still have a small chance of fizzling certain fire spells. But let's say that I want to use off-school utilities, right? These are things that I would be doing simply for the utility of it, because I'm not running ice damage. I'm not running damage to other schools other than storm. If I were to do these every single time I cast this, I have a 13% chance of fizzling. And I think it represents one of the weirdest things that has stayed in the game for as long as it has. Let's say that you dual school into another school as a low accuracy school. You will be lucky to have full accuracy to 2 schools, but if you're trying to duel as a high accuracy school, you almost don't have to worry about it. It's like, depending on the school you pick at the very beginning of the game, it has mad implications as far as how you experience RNG 170 levels deep. There's also major inconsistencies, in my opinion, with which schools get how much accuracy, and that I think does a lot in terms of frustrating the player throughout the game. I think easily the biggest like offender in all of this is ice. In order to use an ice lore spell, you need to get 25% accuracy. And yet, maybe Winter Moon is a bad example of this because it's actually a pretty decent spell for damage, but like most of these, like 75 85% accuracy spells, they are the lowest DPP in the game. They're the lowest damage per pip. When you look at high damage per pip schools like Fire, like Storm, like Myth, you start maybe associating, oh, they have a lot of damage. Maybe they come with a little bit of lower accuracy, especially early game. This could be a trade-off, right? Maybe they need to focus more on it if they're going to be hitting, right? You can make that argument, but I think it falls apart very entirely when you have an Ice School, which is extremely low damage per pip, still running 80% accuracy. Both Balance and Death have literally almost 200% damage at max level at their stat cap, and they don't even have to literally worry about accuracy at all, because 85 is like so easy to, like, you know, you just need 15 to 20 accuracy on those schools, and they do way more damage than Ice. So while I'm glad that Unicorn Way anyways is gonna lessen the frustration of a Fizzle, I really hope they don't just like call it a day with, you know, addressing accuracy as a whole. I think there's a lot of things they could do. One, I do truly believe they need to reevaluate the inconsistencies in schools' damage per pips and their accuracy. I feel like, in my opinion, Balance and Death should have less accuracy than Ice. Does that mean that Ice spells have too little accuracy, or maybe Balance or Death has too much? That I couldn't tell you, but I do think that's a very, very serious contradiction in terms of how other schools work with accuracy. I also think that now, right, they're starting to push this idea of dual schooling onto the Wizard as early as level 50, right? This little Blended Grove update, it isn't just a part of the most recent update. They added spell quests that take place between Dragonspire and Celestia. I think their idea is that, oh, you could really master another school, but is a low accuracy school really mastering another school if they can't even run full accuracy to both themselves and their other school? There's a very easy way to fix this, in my opinion. Already, one thing that they did that was massive for dual schooling in general was add dual Pierce Jewels. So if you weave into a certain second school, right, instead of just having Pierce to your own school, you could actually get Pierce to another school. Now, while these circle jewels are really, really cool, accuracy jewels are triangles. So I feel like that's a whole ass other class of jewels that we haven't seen yet in Selenopolis in the Blended Grove. I would love a Quadia Life update where they just added some crafting recipes very similar to the double Pierce jewels for double accuracy. I don't think there's anything wrong with running enough accuracy to max out 2 schools and even having enough accuracy to run the utilities of another school. I think when you start combining too many schools, you do run into issues where, oh, are they just able to do too much? But as long as everyone has somewhat even access to it, I think that's just better for the game. And right now, it doesn't feel even or equal. So if y'all didn't know that the first meaningful, you know, way that I guess Wiz ever chosen to address the accuracy stat, it's actually in the game now with the stat modifier in Unicorn Way. If you didn't know that, well, now you know. But I would love to hear y'all's thoughts about accuracy as a stat throughout the game. Do y'all feel as frustrated as me with how they've decided to roll it out? Do you guys think that there's some inconsistencies with it that don't make sense from a player perspective? Let me know in the comments, y'all, because I feel like people talk about damage, res, they talk about every stat, but accuracy always gets brushed under the rug, even though it's easily one of the most annoying things to experience, the Fizzle. I look forward to reading all of y'all's thoughts in the comments. Drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a sub if you're new, and as always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome. See y'all soon. And yeah.